Good afternoon, grade 7s, and welcome back to another lesson with Masculinity Learning and Mascu TV. Today's focus point is on data handling. Now, you know, when you come into the chapter on data handling, we are approaching the end of the year because this is always one of the last chapters that we are doing as the year concludes. Let's see what are objectives for the lesson now. What do we wish to achieve at the end of this lesson, right? So we need to understand the concept of what data is by identifying some real life situations. And we know sometimes students like asking, how does this in mathematics relate to what I'm going to do in real life? And we will show you exactly how applicable it is, right? And why it is important as well. We're going to collect data using simple methods such as surveys, tally marks, questionnaires, etc. We're going to organize data systematically, very important, using tables, frequency tables, and tallies. We will all explain it as we go along, and then we will interpret data by drawing conclusions and answering questions as well. Now we know that before we can go into the topic, we need an understanding of what we are doing, right? So let's just go through some very important terminology before we get into the problem solving, right? So data is information or facts about things or about people. Now that is very broad, but we will simplify it for you now. There are so many sources of data all around us, right? For example, we find data in magazines, on the TV, in the radio, in the newspaper, and most importantly, on the internet. Now, as an example, a weather report will show data that has been collected, right, by a meteorologist, if I'm saying that correct, and that is people who study the weather. And this data is useful when we want to know what the weather conditions are that we expect. So we're looking at something and we want to understand why this is important or how the collection of data will be to our benefit. Now, we can look at data in terms of transportation. We want to know how many people in this area are driving cars or buckies or trucks or buses, okay? We can gather data, or we would want the need to understand data in terms of food, right? What are people's food preferences? Do people like fruit? Do they like vegetables? Do they like junk food, all right? And then also we can think about data in terms of people and their shoe sizes, right? So if I look at 20 people, I can look at what the shoe sizes are for all those people. So how many of those people wears a size 8? How many wears a size 2? How many wears a size 1? All right? So this is what we're looking at. We're looking at data, all right? And then, of course, before we can really understand what we are doing, there are certain concepts that we need to understand, terminology that is very important for us to understand, right? And here I've given you a breakdown of some key words we're going to look at as we go along, right? So on the next slide, I did give you a very, very short description of what it says. So you can write it down, you can pause, okay? But the most important part is for you to actually understand what it means. So very, very quickly, right? A questionnaire is a list of questions that you want to ask people. And obviously, there are many different ways you can ask questions. You can ask questions in terms of multiple choice. You can ask questions by asking people to match the columns. You can ask questions by asking people to write a short sentence or a short paragraph, etc. Right? And then also for sample, right? It's a small part of something that we are examining, right? We know that an interview, that is very simple, right? When you are asking people questions and you are interested in what the response to these questions are, right? And then we have consensus. So we know consensus is taking a tally of how many people is living in a country or living in a city, right? And then ultimately statistics, it just goes in line with consensus. We're trying to get the information of everything we are talking about, right? So in data handling, essentially, we are needing to understand these key concepts, but also applying them to problems. And that's exactly what we will do very, very soon. Now, here's an example of what data holistically is. So the scenario is a grade 7 learner has been asked to find out the importance of regular exercise in the lives of her classmates, right? Then they say she has prepared a list of questions to ask them. For each question that she has asked, we need to comment on how effective the question will be, right? So there are certain questions, and all we need to do is, as part of answering this question, we just need to comment on how effective we actually think that the answer is, right? So I will display the solutions to you, but I want you to take a read through the questions very, very quickly and just see how you would be able to ask this question. So the first question is asking, do you think it is important to get regular exercise, yes or no? So that is the question, and there are options given to us. So we need to think about how effective this question actually is. Can we answer this question in depth? Or can we just give a response that will give us an overview of what the answer actually is, right? Now I want to compare number 1's question with number 3's question. Number 3's question is asking, how often do you exercise, right? So we can see at number 3, we are able to give a bit more of a detailed response in comparison to number 1, because number 1 is just a yes or a no. You understand? By number 3, we actually have 4 options given to us. So once a week, thrice a week, once a month, whatever the case. And then if you look at number 4's question, is asking, how many hours of exercise do you get per week? And then again, this is something, if someone asks you the question, how many hours do you exercise, or how many hours of exercise do you get per week? It's going to almost force you to think about it. You can't just go, yes, I do. If you're exercising 30 minutes per day, you need to actually calculate, okay, so 30 minutes multiplied by the amount of days that I actually am exercising. So if it is 4 days, then you're going to say 30 minutes multiplied by the 4 days, and you're going to give your amount of the minutes or the hours in which you do exercise. So you can see here in the solutions, it is exactly saying here that the first question, which is a yes or a no question, I'm commenting now on how effective the question is, right? The question does not give much information, right? That's the important part for us to note. And most people will say it is important to get exercise because they think it is the right thing to say, right? We can't give a very detailed response. But now if I look at number 3's question, how often do you exercise? Then you can see that this question forces the respondent, right, to think about a more formal exercise. It is better because the answers are more specific. Okay, so you can see here that there are different ways in which we can ask questions, right? There are different ways in which we can respond to questions. And part of our terminology is what? A questionnaire. So this is a questionnaire. We are being asked a question. And then also the person who is giving the answer, what are we called? We are called the respondent, right? Or it can be in terms of an interview. Someone's interviewing me to get an idea of data they want to collect to find out how often are people actually exercising. So grade 7s, can you see the idea around data handling? Okay, so look at the next topic over there. It talks about organizing data, right? So this is more a general overview of what data handling is, but now we're going to get into the organization of data. All right, so data that we collect is called raw data. So this data has not been organized or summarized. So I am just in a class and I'm saying, okay, they are girls and they are boys, all right? Or I'm looking at shoes and I'm saying, okay, so I see red shoes and I see brown shoes and I see yellow shoes, but I don't actually know what is happening. I don't know how many red shoes there are. I don't know how many brown shoes there are. I don't know what size, how many size 10s there are, how many size 2s there are. You understand? That is called raw data, right? So it is difficult to read, right, and to make sense of, because if people is just giving me all this information, it's difficult for me to make sense of all this information. Imagine they're telling you that, okay, you are just so many people in the country, but they're not classifying the people according to race, or according to gender, or according to age, whatever it is, all right? So if we organize them, then automatically it makes it much more easier for us to read, right? And it gives us some sense of organization as to what is happening. So therefore, today we will learn how to organize data in frequency tables as well as stem and leaf displays, right? So our focus point mainly for today is frequency tables and a stem and leaf display. But before I get into it, I just want to remind you again, it is important for us to understand what raw data is, and it is more important for us to understand why it is important for us to organize it, so we can have an idea of what is happening with all this raw data that is given to us, okay? Now, a frequency table, so we're talking about the frequency table now, right? The frequency table has 3 columns. One for the data values, right? Another one for the tallies, right? And a third one for the frequencies. So if I'm writing a test or if I'm doing an exam and it's asking me to construct a frequency table, I just need to think of 3 columns that I need to draw. Now the rows will differ dependent on the information that I am given, right? But the actual example is on the next slide. Here I'm just showing you how we can break it up into a table. So we have the result, or whatever we are talking about, okay? We have the tallies and we have the frequency. Now, let's see what it actually is. Or let's go into an example. A soccer coach kept a record of his team's results during a season. Here is his data, right? So we know that W means win, right? L means lose or we lost, and then D means draw, okay? And here we go. He organized this data into a frequency table as follows. Now the first thing we need to understand is we need to understand what will go in my first column over here. And this is all dependent on what data is given to us and how different they are from one another. So we can clearly see here that we have wins. So win will be one that I will work with. L for lose, lose will be a second one I will work with, and then obviously D for draw will be a third one I will work with. So you can see this data here is very, very scattered, and it's raw data. It's very difficult to make sense of. It's not organized. It's not very nice to read. So if I look at this and someone asks me, okay, so how many wins were there, or how many losses were there, then I'm going to actually have to first go and count, and I can easily miss one because they are also on top of each other, right? And that is why I have a frequency table to organize it very neatly for me, right? So look what happens in the first column. I'm going to jot down the data that's given to me, which is the wins, the draws, and the losses, okay? Now, very important, the tallies we count in 5s, right? So we're going to have 4 vertical sticks that we draw, and then 1 horizontal one. So each vertical stick represents 1. And then the 5th one that goes across also represents 1. So if I just look at this over here, then I can tell it is what? 5. So I can count it very easily. So then I will have another 4. So if I actually look at what I'm doing here, if I count the wins, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 wins. So I'm going to put my wins down. Then I want it in terms of tallies, right? So how do I go? I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I have 4 more remaining. So 4 vertical lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Now I want you to see the beauty of this. If I just look at this, I can go 5 because I know that it makes up 5, and then I just have my 4 lines. So 5 plus 4 is 9. And then my frequency, and then my frequency is just how many I have over here. So just to give you a picture, so again, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I have 4 more remaining, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, done, okay? And my frequency just tells me how many wins there actually were. I can read it off from my tallies over here. So 5 and 4 is 9, okay? Let's look at the draws. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 draws. So let's put that into a tally. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, these are my 4 vertical lines. So I go 5, horizontal one across, okay? And then 6, easy. So again, compare reading that information from this raw data over here versus giving it to us in the tally table, or the frequency table rather, right? And my frequency is just 6, and then my losses is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I need to put that in a tally, I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And that goes into my frequency over there. And that, girls and boys, is how simple it is to construct a frequency table, taking raw data that's given to us and putting it in a table which offers us much more organization, and it offers us much more structure, okay? So before we head into a short little break, I want to go into the next thing that we are doing. So remember, we're going to focus on 2 points to organize data. We're using a frequency table and a stem and leaf table, All right, so a stem and leaf table is, again, it's another way of us organizing data, right, in a structured or organized manner, right? And all you need to do is you just need to have two columns, right? So you need to have two columns, literally like this, right? The one column represents your stem and your other column represents your leaf, okay? So generally, for stem, right, here you will have your tens, okay? Or you will have your hundreds, or your thousands, or whatever the case. And your leaves will usually be represented by the units, right? So it's all dependent on what you are given in the scenario. It could be given in tens, it could be given in hundreds, it could be given in thousands. So let's see what they are given over here. And I touched an example right below for you to make sense of it, right? So it says here, Queenie measured the heights of 30 children, correct to the nearest centimeter. So here we have the heights of children given in centimeters, right? Measurements are shown below. Now, what I want you to see is, here she organized this data in a stem and leaf table. So she took all the hundreds first, right? She took all the hundreds first. She took the hundreds, right? So we know that this 10 is represented by what? By 100. And then this 8 is what? The unit. So if I read it off my stem and leaf table, then I know this makes what? 108. What does this make? 103. What does that make? 109. Isn't it so? Now she looked at everything that goes beyond 10, right? So now we're adding another 10. So now we have 117. We have 117 again. We have 118. Simple to read, right? And then here we're adding another 10. So now we will have 120, 121, 124, etc., etc. But now, remember, our aim here is to have structure. We want to read information easily. For me, it still isn't very, very easy to read that off. And that is why we are going to make it even more easier for us to read. Look what she did here. She ordered the leaves of each stem as follows. And what do you guys notice here? What I notice here is the information here is given to us in ascending order. So starting with 100, we started with the lowest numbers first. So if I look at this information here, I can tell that the smallest measurement in centimeters is what? It's 100 centimeters, right? What is the highest measurement or the biggest measurement in centimeters? It will be 124 centimeters. Again, so I'm going to give you a piece of advice. When you need to organize data in a stem and leaf table, step number 1, put your information in ascending order. Ascending means from smallest to biggest. Why? Because sometimes they'll ask you questions based on the stem and leaf table given, such as the smallest or the highest. And if it is given like this, it is very difficult to read what is going on. Once we have it organized in ascending order, like I just showed you over now, then we can see that we can easily read off what the smallest number is and what the bigger number is. And that, boys and girls, is how we construct a stem and leaf table. I'm going to leave you with an exercise to look at when we're into the break. Thank you. Welcome back, grade 7s. I hope that I've given you enough time to get an idea of how we're going to construct our frequency table. So, look at the scenario given to us over here. So in a survey of a group of grade 7s, right, we want to find out which mode of transport they have used to get to school, right? And the following results were recorded as follows, right? This exercise I got out of the Spot On Maths Book on page 291. So you're most welcome to open up your book, right, and do the activity with me with your pen and paper next to you, right? So here we have a lot of data given to us. It looks a lot, it is a lot, and I'm looking for a way to organize this or to give it some structure. How are we going to do this? We're going to use a tally to organize this data into a table. So I'm going to draw the table with you, okay? Now, before I draw the table, I first want to see what data am I given, right? So we're talking about modes of transport, right? So the modes of transport I have is a taxi, right? Walking, a car, and a bicycle, right? So I have 4 modes of transport, meaning that I'm going to need at least 4 rows over here, right, to input my, my modes of transport. So I'm going to construct a table, right, as you should be doing as well. So I'm going to draw a table. There we go. Right, and then I'm going to need, so I need one for mode of transport, one for my tally, and one for my frequency. Okay. Now remember, I had 4 modes of transport, so I need 4 rows, right? So that is for taxi, that is for walk, right? One will be for bicycle, and one will be for car. There we go. Right. So let's put it in. So here I'm gonna go modes of transport. Modes. Okay. Let me rather do this. So here I will have, all right, sorry for that. Let's just try that again. It's fine, I will leave it as is. So here I'm going to go modes of transport. These are my headings now. This will be my tally, and this will be my frequency. All right, so what are my modes of transport, right? My modes of transport, firstly, I have taxi. The order doesn't really matter. My second one I have is walk, right? And then I have car, okay? And then I also have bicycle, okay? And I want you guys to count with me. And if I'm missing something, then you comment there, Teacher Abdul, you missed one, then I will add it in for you. So let's count together. So now let's work with taxis. So we want to count how many taxis there is, and we're going to put it in our tally. All right? So let's go. As a smart idea to take your pen or your pencil. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're starting with 5 over there. So yeah, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's see how many more taxis we have. So there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then where else do I have? I have one there, 1, 2. And those 2 vertical lines I just add in on its own. So 1, 2. Okay? And then the frequency, look how easy I can count it now. 5, 10. 10 plus 2 is what? 12. So my frequency is 12. Done. Let's go to walk. Okay, I'm going to choose a different color here. Right? Let's choose green for walk. So for walk, I have 1. Oh no. Let's try to use the pen. There we go. All right. So 1, 2, it's fine. 3, 4, 5. So let me input my first 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have 1, 2, 3. There we go. 1, 2, 3. So 5 plus 3 is what? 8. So now I have 8 over there. Now we're choosing a different color for car. I'm going to choose purple for car. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where else is car, car, car? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Now my 3 vertical lines, right? Okay, did I miss something now? Yeah, so this disappeared. All right, let me just get my pencil there. So I had, let's just count again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so I have, let me just erase this here. And this should be 8 over here. Right, so there we have 8, very easy to read. So for car we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's count here, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 5 plus 3 is also 8 for car. Okay, and then for bicycle, I'm going to choose yellow. So where's my bicycles? Here we go. 1, 2. So we have 2 bicycles. So I have 1, 2, and then I will have 2 over there. My 8 doesn't look so neat, so I'm just going to make that neater. And there we go, girls and boys. I have taken this information and I've constructed it into a frequency table. Can you see how easy I can read my information from the tally to the frequency? Okay, right, and then to end off, we have one more activity, right? And it is saying here that the list shows the scores made by a cricket player during a season, right? First question, arrange the scores. So they're telling us here to arrange the scores in ascending order and then show them in a stem and leaf display. All right, so very, very quickly, let's organize this in ascending order. Ascending from smallest to biggest. Go with me. If I'm missing a number, comment down in the comment section. Teacher Abdul, you are missing a number. So my first number, as I can see here, so I'm going to scratch it out as I go along to ensure that I don't miss anything. So I have 17 as my smallest number, right? So 17, very important, semicolon, not comma. After 17, I have 19. So I'm going to go 19. And then after 19, I'm going to go, is it 22? Yes. So I have 22. After 22, I have 25. Right, and then I have 26. After 26, I'm going to my 30s now, so it's 32. So I have 32, and then I have 35. Yes, 35. Then I have 37. Then I have 37. After 37, I have 38. And then I have, done with 30s, let's go into the 40s. So I have 44 first. Right, so I have 44. After 44, I have 45. And after 45, I have 51. Right, so there all my data. Can you see there's a line through everything? So I'm sure that I haven't missed any number. So now what I will do is I will just construct this in a stem and leaf table. So very simple, right? I call the one stem and I call the other one leaf. And we know that stem is given by my tens or my hundreds or my thousands, and leaf is what? Is my unit. So I'm going to start with my tens here. So this 1 represents what? Tens. And look how quick it will go if my data is already in the ascending order, right? So now I can go here, 7, right? Done with that one because 1 and 7 is 17. Then I have another 10 here, so now I have a 9, right? So I have 17 and I have 19. I just have 2 for the tens. Now I go to 20. So the stem, the 2 here, is for 20. Now I'm going to add my units, right? So I have 22, right? Then I have 25, right? I have 26. That's all my 20s done. Now onto my 30s. So now I have 3. Let me just extend this over here. So I have 32, so I have a 2 there. Then I have 35, I have a 5 there. Then I have 37, I have a 7, 38, I have a 8. 30 is done. And now I have 40s, right? So 40, so my first unit is 4, so I have 44. And then 45, those are the only 2, right? I'm going to move this a bit up, and I only have 1 for 50. So I have a 5 there, and it is for 1. And look how easily I can see my scores here. If I now ask you a question in the exam, what is the lowest score? You can easily read, what will it be? 17. What is the highest score? The highest score is what? 51. And that, boys and girls, is how frequency tables and the stem and leaf table gives us some structure to what it is that we are doing. I hope that you have enjoyed the lesson. I hope that it has made sense of what we have done over here. Right, remember, very important to understand your terminology firstly, and when you apply the questions, make sure that you don't miss any number, because if you miss one number, it can throw all your data out. So with that, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you have any questions, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Maskey TV. If you need assistance, go into your WhatsApp. Just contact the number. It is given to us over there, 072 091 0388. And I'll see you all in the next lesson for interpreting data. Thank you very much.
And now we enter our next exciting chapter with the launch of Maskeyverse, an inspiring trio of innovations, our AI-powered learning companion, captivating TV content, and a vibrant playground for interactive learning, and our own dedicated app, all coming together beautifully to deliver learning outcomes through technology.